Hey friends, LaJawn here at the Tutoring Spot. Thanks for tuning in. Hey, I wanted to bring to you guys some of my mini lessons that I do with my students. First one is story time. Yeah, everybody loves story time, right? These kids will too. Anytime something is short and sweet, kids usually love them, especially when they get to hear a funny, goofy story or they get to listen to their favorite book. So first off, all you're going to need for this is some 3x5 cards or some papers cut into strips, about 5. You need about 5. And then your papers, because you're going to write some words onto these individual strips. And then you're going to need a book of your choice. Any book, any book, any book, any book. Any book, did I say any book? Any book that you want. Depending on your kiddo, if they've got a book that they've been wanting to read, or you got a book that you've been wanting to read to them, grab them and have a seat on your favorite little snuggle spot and then get to reading. First thing you're going to do when you get to reading is you're going to ask your student if they have started the book already. You want to ask them some questions from what they have read previously. Then this way you can, 1, get up to speed on what they're reading, and 2, you can bring back some of those little memories that they've had of what they read about, so when they move forward, they can connect the story. After you've read the story, which, by the way, I don't do more than 10 minutes, because after about 10 minutes, I am done thinking, I am done looking, I'm elsewhere, my mind has gone somewhere, ADD starts catching up with me, and I am no longer reading a book. I am probably somewhere either in my garden or I am probably in my happy spot. So, no more than 10 minutes. If you're not like me, which many aren't, go more than 10. But for a mini lesson, don't go any more than 10. And that includes the 5 little questions you're going to ask at the end of your lesson. All right, so let's travel back since I went off. The book that you got for your kiddo. If it's new, ask them what they think that this is going to be about. Read the title to them, read it, who's illustrated, all that fun stuff that you normally do. Ask them what they're going to think that this book is about. Then read the story and see if it is what they thought it would be about. Then at the end of the story, you're going to take the time, because on there, did I forget to tell you, on these stories, on these little strips of papers that you had so nicely cut up, you're going to write 5 words. Who, what, when, where. Who, what, when, where, and why. Is that right? Who, what, when, where, why. Yeah. Those 5 questions, you're going to write them on the little pieces of paper like this. So after you've done reading and doing all that fancy stuff, like again, if you're reading a chapter book, don't read more than 2 chapters, especially if you've got those kiddos that want to read Harry Potter or Percy Jackson's or anything like that. Then just read about 2 chapters. I don't know, because it's story time. It's not lounge around the house and read all day. You could do that later on your own time. So anyways, after you get done with that, then you're going to ask the questions. You're going to ask your students or ask your kiddos the questions. Who is the story about? After you've asked that question, put it in front of them so they can see it as they're answering the question. Now, feel free to maybe lead the kiddos to that answer, because if you have kids that are like my students, that some of them really don't remember names, or if you're like me, you don't remember names. So sometimes I have to go back and sneak to figure out who was in actually the story, or who the story was actually all about. So feel free to try and get that answer out of them, or just they'll figure it out. Just kidding. Anyways, who is the story about? When did the story take place? I put it down in front of them. I usually put it over top of what we just did so they don't get confused on what question to answer, and what we're on right now is when. Where did the story take place? So these kind of go together. When and where did the story take place? Put it in front. Wait for them to answer. Now, here, these 2 questions may not be able to be answered in the story, because like what I have done, I read this book earlier, and I will link that down below so you can kind of see what I had done. this questions were not in here. You had to really get imaginative, and maybe he was on Sesame Street. I don't know. Maybe he was somewhere. Does he say he was on Sesame Street? I don't know. Oh, it does right there. Oops. Well, oh well. I didn't ask the questions because it really takes a lot of imagination, and for such a young book and such a young reader, that might have not have been very apparent to them. So I didn't ask these 2 questions. However, if they are, you ask them. What was happening and why? Put them in there. After you've got those answered, voila, story time's done. Yay! You can go on your merry way, and your kids can go on your merry. Or you can go and check Mrs. Jimenez's YouTube page for more mini lessons. And if you have any ideas for some, let me know. Hit the subscribe button so you can catch on to those. And if you have any suggestions, put the comments below. Until next time, friends, here's LaShawn from Tutoring Spot signing off.